After we stood in the dark for a while, like trembling bats in Oaxaca chocolate, we saw a light. The golem, regretting her cowardly retreat and the withdrawal of chamois, came back and sat down at our feet one of her glowing eyes. It made the tunnel bright as day. Before we could thank her, she had vanished again, dragging her sad pet chunks in the stony path like a penitent in Cuba. Female golems are made in Japan, Schlesy explained. He was a specialist in golems because his father was the rabbi and mohel at the last synagogue left in Transylvania. He had, of course, no way of knowing anything about Japan, least of all that cheap Japanese toys would overtake the free time of children in the West, only to advance in the next decade to produce sophisticated female golems. He did not even properly know what the West was, because we only learned in school about Russia. The rest of the world, as far as our school was concerned, was a wilderness inhabited by capitalist hyenas, imperialist dogs, speculation scorpions, and greedy muskrats. The bestiary of communist schooling was much larger than this, so I wasn't surprised, while still behind the Iron Curtain, that the West also contained venomous rattler denigrators, perfidious journalist rats, and perverted night owls. All of this was still in the future. We were starving and tired. We trudged through the long tunnel, rolling the light of the golem's eye in front of us. At long last, we emerged at an exit in a rock above a rushing mountain stream. The grass smelled divine as we rolled in it after exiting. I think that tiredness was stronger than hunger, because we fell asleep for an hour. I dreamt that I was working in a golem factory, wearing a white suit and goggles. Blue golem eyeballs rolled on the assembly line, where I fitted them to smooth vinyl foreheads. There must have been a shortage, because I was only allowed one eye per golem, which I placed in the middle of her forehead for symmetry reasons. At some point I started swallowing them. I felt guilty because I was sure that if the factory managers caught me eating golem eyes, I would suffer a dreadful punishment. I woke up before they could find me. I was so hungry I'd have eaten Schlesy, an act of cannibalism that in the hypnagogic state between dream and whatever this was certain to be less egregious than swallowing golem eyes. I had the strangest dream, said Schlesy. We were eating matzo ball soup in the ritual bath at the synagogue. My cousin Sarah said that it wasn't proper to turn the water in the ritual bath into chicken soup, and that the matzo balls, while being certainly delicious, were actually our bodies floating in the soup. It's hard to explain. Oh, don't bother, I said. I know what you mean. We are hungry. We started looking for food. We rejected the bright red berries in a nearby bush because they were too easy to find and probably poisonous traps hung there by capitalists. We also passed by a dry tree with sun-cured pastrami rabbits hanging from the branches, begging for mustard. Our will crumbled completely, however, when we came to a scrawny fig tree that had plump letters hanging from it. These letters were meaty and smiled maddeningly of fried chicken. We fell upon them like ravenous scholars faced with an original scroll of the Bible. We scarfed down hundreds of these letters. I almost fell into a food coma. I had eaten so many. It was only years later I realized that in a single greedy bout of letter scarfing, I had eaten my way through a good portion of the world's literature, a gluttonous fever of which the Austrian encyclopedia I once hid in was but a small appetizer. It was in those later years that I understood also why most writing committed by my contemporaries bored the shit out of me. I had consumed it already in my 10th year, and I had promptly evacuated it from my bowels not long after. Schlesy ate just as much, but he must have had a different stomach and brain, because in those later years when I experienced literary nausea, he had worked his way from a Harvard economic degree to the top position in the World Bank. Until those later years came, many other things happened, and this is no way to tell the story. I restored myself to chronology and tell you now what happened next after we fed in the forest.